Hi, my name's Leonie Bolt, and I went from high school troublemaker and long-time backpacker to accidental entrepreneur. After 15 years working as a professional photographer and running my own studio, I grew into becoming a personal empowerment and business mentor to help other women to follow their passions and find their purpose too. I've learnt to pave my own way through life, and now I empower others to do the same, to break through their limiting beliefs and empower them to shine. Welcome to the Empowered to Shine podcast, where we dive deep into creating a life by your own design. Welcome to the Empowered to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Leonie Bolt, and our guest today is Wendy Trevarthen from Healthy Options Now. So Wendy is a nurse, and she has been a PT in a previous life also. So she brings all of that experience together in her coaching, helping particularly women. Is it women that you definitely work with?
No, both sexes.
Both sexes, yeah. To find their health and wellness and vitality again. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you, Leonie, for having me. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. Now, tell us a little bit about your journey and what brought you to what you're doing now.
Sure. So in a 2-3 minute snapshot, because everybody's life journey is lengthy if you want to go into the story, but I'll give you two highlights that happened in my life. As you introduced, I'm a registered nurse, but that didn't happen by accident. I had a family tragedy when I was 17. My dad got struck down with a disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome. And for those that may know something called motor neurone disease, it's very similar, but it happens very quickly. And he went from being an able-bodied gentleman to being disabled. So that threw me into the realms of the health sector and how that can support people, let alone the emotional turbulence that happened in my life when I was 17. As you can imagine, your dad is your role model. You look up to him. He's your keeper. So that put me on a bit of a journey with emotional roller coasting. And the second pivot point in my life was after being married and had children. I actually ended up not marrying the man that I believed I should have been matched with, as a lot of people do when they look back. So, the second turmoil was going through that separation, divorce, etc. And, being a single parent, basically, to my two children. So that taught me a lot about myself and, a lot about living life, and every day that you have is a blessing, and the moments that you have with your family and those that are dear to you are very precious. So you need to be living your best life so that you can be present and help support those people that you love and care about.
Absolutely. So what is it that you do now in your business?
Yeah, so I still work as a registered nurse. At the moment, I'm pivoting into teaching. So I'm transitioning as I'm getting older into giving back to a profession that's certainly served me well. And getting older in my years, I understand that, you can't function as well. You've got to be realistic in all these things. But now with my business, Healthy Options Now, as you mentioned, one of my transition times was to looking at being a personal trainer and trying to empower people to get out there and get active, etc. But there's so much more behind staying fit and healthy in your own body than just doing the physical motions. There's a lot around the mindset. So I went into wellness coaching because that was a really nice balance between what I know about a healthy body, being a registered nurse, to looking at the mindset that needs to change around that. So that was about 5-6 years ago, and I went on and I did Zumba instruction and triathlon training, and I was a half marathoner, and it's in those days that you're still seeking and finding out more about yourselves. But what I do now is put that in a 12-month program. And I also have a 6-week lead-in program. So it's 6 weeks basically to look at some habits around your lifestyle at the moment and which habits are not serving you that well, and trying to change your behaviour around those habits. We've all got them. Coffee, chocolate, too much time on the couch. being in COVID and, being the great procrastinator that you're going to start something next week. It's all around making those changes towards a healthier lifestyle that's so important. And your definition of healthy is very different to the person next to you. And that's my point of difference, I think, is because I've got that wide range of experience. I know, and I've looked after people with chronic health conditions. They're limited with what they can do. But what I empower people, what I like to say is I enable people to thrive no matter what. So it's where you are at the present and where you're wanting to be. It might be something very simple that you're wanting to go on a 2K hike with your grandkids. Yeah. Let's get you there.
Yeah, fantastic. So when you're talking about getting rid of the old habits and replacing them with new healthy habits, what are some of the ways that you can get people to change their mindset around something like chocolate or coffee or whatever it is for them, whatever their nemesis is?
Yeah. So it's really looking at that habit and identifying why you've got that in the first place. So it's not just the physical act of going and getting or buying the chocolate or doing it. There's always underlying reasons why that's actually become a comfort zone for you. So exploring that, hashing that out, really drilling deep. So if you look at my own example, I was escaping from my emotional traumas of the time and going and seeking comfort somewhere else. That's the black and white of it. And everyone has got their stories. So it's not until you actually be true to yourself and explore and dig deep into that do you actually recognize that you are seeking a comfort, and it does become a habit that gives you that comfort. Yeah. So it's really, just rewiring. We all know about neuroplasticity and rewiring your brain and learning new behaviors, but you can't do that by yourself. You need someone next to you. You need someone that is, that understands where you've been, what the challenges are that you're facing, and, to be able to move you towards those healthier lifestyle changes or healthy options now.
Yes. Yeah. So we're not necessarily replacing that comfort with another comfort item. We're basically taking the whole thing out of the equation so that people realize they don't actually need that anymore. Is that right?
They don't need the coffee or the chocolate. Well, and recognizing that taking, a daily chocolate habit down to once a week, or taking it from, 6 coffees a day down to 1. That's a remarkable change. A smoker, whoever's given up smoking, they recognise that is, there are different forms of addictions and how they work on your body and your systems and feedback loops. So it depends on your habit or your addiction, for want of another word, as to how that actually changes. And that's why 6 weeks is a really good introduction, because most people can pick 1 or 2 lifestyle habits that they're not very proud of and that they want to change. And if you just focus on those 1 or 2 things and unravel it or unpeel it like a big onion, then you can work out. And even though you're saying ditching the habit altogether, well, no, you're not. You're actually recognizing and stepping into the emotion that starts that habit, but you're recognizing that and accepting it, that that's the emotion that you're experiencing, and really feeling that and channeling that energy into something else, whether it be a creativity that you've long lost and forgotten. For me, it's dancing and music, or it could be painting, or it could be taking a mindful moment. So that when you're triggered by that experience, you can actually move yourself into that moment that gives you that comfort and joy. And it's also a healthier option and a way to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you figure out what the emotion is that they're masking?
Yeah, so tapping into your responses. So I'm talking to you now. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I don't hide my emotions. I don't wear makeup or a little bit of lipstick and mascara, whatever. But you can see I've got these emotion things on my neck. That comes up for me, and I know that comes up for me because I am passionate about what I do, and also because I'm talking about my past. So that's a trigger for me. So having a recognition of what the trigger is for you is the key point. A lot of people bury that, and by stepping into it, you can recognize it, you can feel it, you can take a pause and take a big deep breath and close your eyes and really feel what's happening in your body, because you may notice things when you're present with yourself that you've never noticed before. So it's taking you through an exercise of spending that time and getting to know your triggers and responses, your emotion response to what's going on, is really, really important. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's where having 12 months with someone really comes in handy. Oh, not just handy, but, it's beneficial, because there's so much work to be done and so much unraveling and so much discovering and self-discovery, and we've all got multiple things that we need to address to find that healthier lifestyle, I'm sure.
It is. And it's taking that 12 months to actually accept. So when people come to me, they usually say it's because they want to get healthier or fitter or lose 10 kilos or whatever. But once we do that unraveling together, usually one thing leads to another. So there's usually like 6 to 10 things that they're wanting to change or improve. And that all takes time, and we don't take on those things all at once. So once you've actually got one thing sorted and set aside and you're into healthier routines, so you've moved yourself from being unconsciously unaware through to consciously aware through to unconsciously aware, which means, when you learn to drive a car, when you step in your car, you're told by your driver instructor to put the key in the ignition, turn the key on, put the car into first gear and alternate the. See, I'm having trouble thinking about it now because you do it so subconsciously. But that demonstrates how you move yourself to just jumping in the car and driving from point A to point B, and you can't even remember anything along the way. But if you think back to when you were a learner driver, you physically had to go through all the steps. So that's what needs to happen with any habit. You really need to break it down and move and explore different avenues to learn the steps so that it actually becomes a natural response to turning the ignition on at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. And like we said, you find one thing and you deal with that, but then there's always multiple layers of things going on, isn't there?
Yeah, and this is why I love health so much, because people are so interesting, and I just love helping people. I mean, what happened to my dad was no fault of his own. It was not a lifestyle choice, and I just see so many people and have seen so many people enter into the healthcare system where they could have made some better decisions, but taking them from where they are there to a better, healthier way it only enhances what their lives can be like.
Yeah, and it's really exciting that you've taken, the modern nursing career that you've got under your belt and implementing the mindset, because it's really important. I think it's something that's definitely missing in our society across all aspects, and particularly health and wellness. You go to the doctor and it's a prescription or surgery is kind of the first point of call, rather than diving into, okay, well, why has this manifested, or what can we change to slowly bring this back into alignment. So it's really exciting what you're doing. And so what sort of people do you work with?
Right. So you mentioned the GP surgery. So you've gone to your GP and you said your blood pressure's up a little bit. I want you to lose some weight. I'll use weight because it's a common symbol of a lot of other things. Okay. So you walk out of you look at yourself in the mirror and go, oh, I'm not overweight, maybe a little bit dumpy, little love handles on the side. And then you walk out of the GP office and you kind of go, okay, so where do I start, really? So I see myself as filling that gap. The GP can refer you to a nutritionist, they can refer you to a personal trainer, they can refer you to an exercise physiologist if you've got some aching issues. But there's the wellness coaching space is all around those disciplines. It's actually looking at the mindset and the behaviour change and coaching people towards that. So I've actually got the best of both worlds, being a registered nurse teacher of health versus a wellness coach that coaches you. So the difference between a teacher and a coach is a teacher teaches you about diabetes, what the signs and symptoms are, what you need to eat, how much insulin you need to take. If you're on oral hypoglycemics, what's the signs of being a hypo or hyper? That's the teaching. The coaching aspects of it is building on your own knowledge of what's going on and coaching you through you coming up with the solutions of how you're going to get there by yourself. So we can offer suggestions or options as a coach, teach you about or fill the gap that you don't know about your health condition or what's going on with that, but coaching you and bridging that gap to move you forward in changing some behaviours.
Yeah, because the whole process can be really overwhelming and there's never a one-stop shop. You go to the doctor, you get your referral to somebody else and then referred to somebody else. And then you don't know whether you need a chiropractor or a physio or, a sports therapist or, it can be such an overwhelming space. And I know even for myself, just the regular body aches and pains, I'm like, oh, what do I need? I wish I could just go to one person and get a massage and get an adjustment and, do all of the things, but there's never a one-stop shop. So it's good to have that support person in your corner to lay it out all on the table and let you know more about what you don't know.
That's right. And that's just it. The unconscious to the conscious is you don't know what you don't know. So having someone there sort of explaining that this could be what's happening. How many times do you go to the GP and they don't really know what's going on either? So, and sometimes when you change 2 or 3 things in one aspect of your health or your lifestyle, it has a domino effect on other things.
Yes. And it's your body. So no one actually understands your body the way you do. So you have to really feel into it and notice these things for yourself, because there's no point going to the doctor and going, I don't know what it is. They're going to put you through some tests or whatever. But without knowing exactly how you're feeling inside, it's very hard to address what it actually is.
And the other factor too is your personal other person, your partner. So your partner is often the catalyst of you going to seeking some help, because they often see some changes in you that you don't recognise yourself. I was just having morning tea with someone yesterday whose husband is quite unwell, and she's the one that's actually identifying all of these subtle changes. And I've said, you need to actually go into the GP office with your husband to, talk about those changes that you're seeing. So being aware of what your spouse or your loved one is actually commenting on or not commenting. Some of them don't like to say anything, but what they're telling you might actually be highlighting some things or some changes that you hadn't really noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. You don't notice it on yourself necessarily because you're with yourself all day, every day, even just looking at it in a weight loss scenario, if you're putting on weight or losing weight, you don't necessarily notice it straight away. It's generally the people closest to you that are the first ones to notice, isn't it?
That's it. Or if you tried on something that you haven't worn for a couple of years and you kind of go, oh my goodness, that doesn't fit me anymore.
And I certainly didn't get any taller.
These clothes must be getting smaller. The sizing is so small. Anyway,
somebody put them in the dryer for me.
In my book, actually, there's a chapter in there saying diet is a dirty word, and I think weight is another one as well. I think so many women have got so many misconceptions around their weight instead of embracing who they are on the inside. It's just there's so much out there in the media about weight, and rightly so. I mean, excess weight leads to so many complications, but it's more than just the kilos on the scales.
Oh, absolutely. And we know as women, it can be very hormonal as well, especially menopausal women. All of a sudden your body's not, running as fast on metabolism as it used to.
and recognizing and accepting that that's just the way that nature is intending you to be. So embracing that change for the value that it brings to you. So I'm au natural, don't dye my hair. I love your hair, Leonie, by the way, but I choose not to dye my hair. No. But I've got 2 granddaughters, so I want them to think of their nanny as a nanny. Being up and chasing them around's a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's probably a lot of nannies out there that wish they could, and they certainly can't. I know even my mother-in-law, she's not old by any means, but she's had multiple knee surgeries, multiple back surgeries, and she can't get up and run around the kids. She doesn't even like to have them at her house on her own because she's worried in case she has to try and do anything. So it's really important to look after your health for those reasons, isn't it?
It sure is. Children are a blessing in time.
Yes. So, Wendy, if people want to find out more about you or if they want to see what you do, what's the best place to find you?
Well, it depends on where you hang out. If you hang out on Facebook, then you'll find me under my name, of course, and follow me. Healthy Options Now business page. And my web page, if you like web pages, is www.healthyoptionsnow, or one word, all lowercase, .org. So www.healthyoptionsnow.org. I'm also on LinkedIn as well, and they're the 2 social media platforms that I hang out on. I don't do any more because I don't want to learn anymore. That's where I am.
And that's a good thing. And have you got some sort of introduction into your 12-month program that people can jump on and have a look?
Yeah, so I run a regular 2-hour workshop. So in there, we actually frame up what your 5 steps to reclaiming your mojo is. And that's online about once every 6 weeks. So that's 2 hours where we actually explore and unravel, and it can get you on your way if you're wanting to do that independently, but it also introduces us to each other. So if you choose to work with me, then you can. If you don't, then you can just stay in touch on social media. That's all good.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'll put all of your links in the show notes. So if you're just listening, you head to leoniebolt.com/podcasts and look for the episode with Wendy. And that way we'll have all the links there as well if you want to go and find out where she's at. So thank you very much for joining us today, Wendy. It's been great to dive into a little bit of what you do. And I love that you're able to bring the headspace and also the fitness side into one big encompassing bubble.
Thanks for having me, Leonie. It was fun.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Shine podcast. My name's Leonie Bolt, and I'm glad that you were able to join us today. I hope you got some serious inspiration from today's episode. If you'd like to find more episodes, go to leoniebolt.com/podcasts or start subscribing on your favorite podcast streaming channel. I look forward to seeing you again soon.